All right. Welcome to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Ewell, and today we're going to be talking about my streak of 486 consecutive days of hitting 10K steps has come to an end, and I missed this weekend. I missed one day out of the last 486. I was going for 487. I missed it.
You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewell. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.
And today I want to talk a little bit about, number one, having a habit that you've done for 486 consecutive days, the lessons that I've learned, and then what I'm going to be doing and focusing on as I head into 2024. So one of the things that I started to recognize back in 2022 was just simply movement, specifically on a day-to-day basis, was just not happening. I was kind of sitting behind a desk, coaching, on Zoom a lot. And I started to recognize myself, even in the gym, is that the changes I wanted to make seemed like they were a little bit slower. And as I looked at, hey, am I going to use age as the excuse like so many other people, or am I going to use and begin to look at what's my activity? And so I started to track my activity prior to the previous 4 or 5 years. And I started to recognize that my activity would drastically get less and less, specifically in movement. And so as I started to see that, I began to, do 10,000 steps a day. Now, what I saw was that this was something that I began to work on. I think I started in March of 2022 and really kind of got into the pattern of it. I'd miss here or there, but really got into the pattern of it in July of 2022. That's when I really started this streak, and it came to an end this weekend. And the way it came to an end was a little bit crazy. So you guys know the story, if you followed me, but you know the story of like, I just wanted to develop a habit of doing it. And first it was kind of like getting 3 months straight without missing. Then it was 6. And then it was like, all right, I wonder if I could do 9. Then all of a sudden it was a year. And then I was like, man, I'm just going to keep going. Really, I was going for a full year from January to January, but I missed this weekend. I missed by like literally 120 steps. So we went out to dinner with some friends, celebrated a birthday. I think I was at like 1,000 steps prior to leaving to dinner, thinking, man, like I'll just hit this easy. Well, I came home from dinner. It was a little bit late. I ended up sitting on the couch. I didn't check anything on my phone. I didn't check any of my steps. All of a sudden, I'm like, man, I'm going to go to bed. And literally I could have walked outside, walked back in. I was like 120 steps away from hitting 10,000. I could have did a lap around my house and hit it easily. But I went to bed. I didn't check anything. And all of a sudden I got up and I was like, oh shit, I wonder if I hit my 10,000 steps. I looked at my phone and realized I was 120 steps away from hitting it. And so as I sat there for a minute, I was like, dude, I took my eyes off the goal. And what I mean by that is earlier that day, I kind of looked at, where I was at for the day. I'd already gotten like 5,500 steps in by, I think, noon. And so I don't really like pay attention a whole lot, but I took my eyes off my goal. And no matter how many times you do something, if you take your eyes off your goal, if you take your eyes off your habits, you can literally lose it in an instant. And just like I did, hey, I'd went 486 days of just having that pattern of I got to hit 10,000 steps. In one day, it was instantly gone. So my first lesson was like, I took my eyes off my goal. That's ultimately why I hit it. And whatever you want to say, hey, maybe I reminded myself, but like 486 times of hitting it, you would think that there's enough repetition there that you don't even need to think about it anymore, which a lot of times I didn't think about it, but there was always like in the back of my mind, I had to hit it, or I was planning on hitting it. And so this one time I took my eyes off the goal and I missed it. Second thing that I learned is you can get really comfortable with your habits. And what does that mean? That means that, walking 10,000 steps a day, every single day is not that hard, but it requires a certain level of commitment. And it also can create a certain level of comfort that you can be comfortable inside of that to where it all of a sudden becomes so easy, it's comfortable. And a lot of times we think of habits as like, hey, I want these to be things I don't ever have to think about, yet that comfort inside of that stops giving us the results that we ultimately looking for. Originally, I just wanted to move. I wanted to move more than I was. I wanted to feel active, which I've developed that level of that. And it's really helped me with a lot of things, such as prayer. It's really helped me with like getting outside in nature. It's really helped me in a lot of ways. Listen to worship music, spend time with God. So many things that I've been able to do by just having this one habit. But at the same time, it's gotten me comfortable, which would lead me to the next thing is you have to change the variables if you want a greater level of growth. And so I feel like as much as I've grown from learning how to do this, in other ways, I feel like it's kind of held me back because, walking 10,000 steps a day, it usually requires about an hour to an hour and a half of activity that, 30 minutes of walking in the morning, typically a 15-minute walk after lunch, after dinner, or somewhere along the way. It's pulling away from other things. And so one of the things I started to do was really stack other habits with it to maximize what I was doing, changing up the variables, adding a vest, adding weight, different things like that really allowed me to begin to change the variables up. And if you don't change the variables up, you'll get really comfortable in your habits. You'll get stuck in your levels of growth. And so although we could be doing a habit, let's say I drank this every single day for the next year, well, eventually that would be comfortable. And if I don't change the variable up in either what I'm drinking or taking in, there's only so much I'm going to get out of it. And so if you don't change the variables, if you don't change the resistance, you're going to grow comfortable no matter how difficult the habit is. And so we have to change those up if we want a different result. And so maybe the biggest thing that I've learned is, number one, being committed to 486 days requires a massive level of commitment, and looking at it is like, hey, do you think you could go another 486 days without missing? I really don't know. But it feels like a big, overwhelming task to do that again, or to even hit 500, which originally I wanted to hit 365. Then I was like, I wonder if I could hit 500. But, either way, now it would be almost a year and a half to even get there from that place to hit 500 again. And I don't necessarily know if I want to do that because I'm starting to see things that I would need to change in it if I was really going to take it seriously. Otherwise, I don't think I would take it as serious as I have now. So this is, part of what I'm learning living a habit-based lifestyle is that we can get comfortable living in our habits, good or bad. We can get comfortable and not really grow to the level of growth that we potentially could. So we have to change the variables. We have to change the habits because those require us to change ourselves and change how we show up. And so, the number one thing I want to do with my habits is I want to begin to grow from them. My goal is not to stay comfortable with them. And so this is helping me see some areas that I need to grow in. Yes, I love walking. I love a lot of the things it does, and it really calms me down. But I also see that I need to create some new resistance in that. And maybe the bigger thing is not taking my eyes off the goal in order to do that. So But I am proud of 486 days because I haven't seen a lot of people or heard of a lot of people doing that. But at the same time, it's a habit, right? And a streak coming to an end gives me kind of a different perspective on, okay, well, what's the next streak that I could work on and really begin to do that. And I will say this, that once you kind of get in the flow with it, it really helps you be consistent and, having a system around it. Like I could tell somebody how to hit 10,000 steps, not only because I've done it, but because I had a specific system around hitting it every single day. And that's given me a new level of wisdom. It's also given me a new level of strength and different ways that I can challenge myself to be more consistent in what I'm doing. So that's it. 486 consecutive days come to an end. If you're tuning in, like I don't just talk about habit-based lifestyle. I live habit-based lifestyle. But again, this is the game of constantly testing ways that we can improve, not only in our business, but our physical, mental, spiritual, relational health, and really looking at, okay, what's the next area I can challenge myself to go a year straight without missing. And that's really what I'm going to be working on in this next season. So guys, I want to thank you for joining. If you have any questions, reach out to me, Jesse at habitbasedlifestyle.com. Until next episode, hope you have a great day.
You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewell. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.